Now imagine an entire department in an organization apologizing to one person. They were like, Karabo, you are arrogant. What makes you think that we're going to do that? Imagine a marketing executive and a CEO apologizing to just some upper middle management employee, some program manager. We ain't doing it. She's just one person. She's expecting too much. Oh, versus 5 million rand, 10 million rand, 20 million rand. That as the years have progressed has like just continued to grow and burgeon because of the damages, the ripple effect of what you started all those years ago. So rather than say sorry to me, you would much rather basically face the risk of me winning a lawsuit. I was ready to award them whatever it is that the law said we must award people. Complete forgiveness. Insofar as you will rock up with a broken and a contrite spirit, admit your wretchedness before me. Just confess. And I will move on with that stupid little 24-month compensation from the CCMA. And just go on right ahead and either start a new business or get a job at Vodacom. When you're some other organization that's going to appreciate whatever under heaven it is that I am. Instead, they decimated my reputation to a point where I became unhireable, unemployable. And here is this intelligent woman now, all these days, all these years down the line, with nothing at all to write home about, with people all over the show afflicting me. Indignation, when it dwells in the heart richly, all a person wants is for scales to be equaled. The sense of justice in human beings is so poignant that we came up with entire justice systems in Jefela that looked similar to that of God's. But they're not perfect because they don't effect justice perfectly like God. We have it too. Justice is all over creation, guys. Only look at the normal distribution. It is a curve evidencing justice. Everything, most things here on earth, just follow the curve of a normal distribution. They just end up somewhere in the center, creating a normal distribution where everything else is on the outliers on the left and on the right, and then they plateau as I'm totally to the left and the right. My lecturer at Wits University, when he was teaching us on the normal distribution, used to say that this is evidence that God exists because so many things follow the curve of a normal distribution on earth, evidencing the balancing force of God, justice, the scales. If you toss a coin in the sky 100 times, it will more than likely, within a range to the left and on the right, maybe by the 10th percentile, always be 50-50. So heads will be 49%. Tails 51, or heads will be 40. Tails will be 60%, while heads will be 40. But for the larger majority, they will literally tend towards 50% each time by chance. And just feel like flip it 100 times. I dare you to actually partake in the experiment right now, where you throw it to a coin in the sky, let it land on the floor, and almost 50% of the time it'll land on heads and tails. That is a normal distribution right there. Everything else is on the outliers. That's God. If then the Lord can create such a curve in nature that just constantly follows his path of justice, like the normal distribution, the Fibonacci sequence, guys, so many things evidence the justice of God, that just perfect dimensions, measurements, that somehow just ratios map to each other, 2 to 1, map to each other, 3 to proper. There is just so much evidencing that the fact that God is just, to a point where in his creation he could not have a skew painting. Have you ever looked at a painting on the wall that is skew and just kind of left it that way? A mirror that's hanging skew. Ebatung, you will itch. And even in a complete stranger's house, you will itch. You will not know what to do to yourself. You will pretend you're going to the bathroom and bump into it with your shoulder just to straighten it out. That is God's sense of justice on the earth. So when you expect people to just take scraps, to just be okay with not getting justice as indeed it is owed to them, you're creating criminals. You're creating the case of that man in the movie Law Abiding Citizen with Jamie Foxx and that other guy who killed everything because he wouldn't get justice. You are creating out of the human race vigilantes that will take matters into their own hands because you refuse to effect justice. You are creating an uprising. You are creating a governmental coup, a state takeover. That's what people do when there is no justice. You are creating beheadings of kings and queens. You are creating an ecosystem that is frankly insufferable for human beings that have been given the justice of God as just a natural way. When coins land 50-50 for the better part of the time, and you think that you can take that level of strength of justice in all creation and just kind of not roll like that. The invisible qualities of God are all over creation, guys. You are without excuse. So how much more when you are a born-again child of the living God will you desire justice? The martyrs under the altar in Revelation, I think it's 8. Yeah, no, they're crying out in heaven. They should be happy. I mean, they've escaped the body of death. Instead, they're like, when are you going to avenge our death? Justice will always be a thing until God effects it. The ultimate justice is hellfire. But before then, it's cases like mine, where all she wants is an apology. But an organization is too uptight and too arrogant and proud to admit that a bunch of executives, a bunch of middle management, and a bunch of middle management, a bunch of staff members at a company came up against one Christian One. What's so special about her that we should all apologize? Well, here's the deal. What was so special about me that you would all lie against literally one woman whose evidence was so damning, so exculpatory that I am obviously innocent, and so you all look like a bunch of freaking mob abusers in groupthink. One woman is owed an apology by an entire company, and they won't do it. My mother, therefore, just like MTN, is like a dream on dreamer. Rather than just like say sorry and move on, she's telling me dream on the day that I will ever admit that I was wrong in any way. So what is she trying to subjugate me to the tyranny of? Imagine being completely innocent and the person who is your perpetrator insists that you apologize to them for provoking them. And also insist that you admit to lies that basically disqualify how much justice you are owed. Why won't you love me as a mother? Why do you treat me so horrifically as a mother? Why aren't you appreciative as a mother? Do you not see what I do for you? I'm sorry, herein lost the deal. I had my own career. I had my own thriving everything where I would not need to rely on you for the rest of my days. And then you wrenched me out of that, worked with my organization to wreak havoc in my life. And so now I am dependent on you like a child still suckling at a parent's breast, at a mother's breast, albeit being of an age where they're supposed to be weaned off now. You put me in a position to depend on you for the rest of my life. And then you want to call me ungrateful when I'm embittered by the fact that you've made me a live-in domestic worker where your child, who is 17 years younger than me, does nothing in the house. You expect me to be content with all of your ungrateful dispositions. The ingrate, indeed, that you are. You want me to pretend that that's not a thing. That is like putting a gun to their head, recognizing an individual's lack, and so therefore recognizing what would be the tantamount of your bargaining power given the lack they have. That becomes then your bargaining chip. You get them to settle with standards dropped because they are in so much want at the time of settling that they will take whatever. It's like torturing a person that has been arrested by the police into a, what do you call this thing? A confession. Torturing a person into a confession. They have been beaten so much, they've been waterboarded so much, they have been ransacked for so long that just to gain any kind of reprieve, they will confess to a crime they did not commit, insofar as they will only receive 5 years of a prison term instead of life. That's what I am being expected to do. Because I am at a point where I am so severely tortured, to gain reprieve at all for the sorrow that I am in, I must take 5 years of prison when I am own freedom and an apology, a slate wiped clean, no criminal record, the expunging of anything that has ever been done against me because I'm innocent, and if anything, also successfully win a case against the state for arresting me wrongfully. That's what I'm owed. But I must go to prison for 5 years because I'm tired of torture. Yeah, that's what my mom is trying to do, and everyone else. If I had my own everything, if I were to suddenly miraculously get restored to everything I lost, the apology that I am owed, that is comprehensive from the east to the west, would come flooding at my door like uninvited leaves in autumn in your yard. Yeah, that's what would come to me. An unadulterated and unsolicited apology. Unpetitioned for. Kisakopa sor the askis. Cause yes, they're two separate things. Mauti askis, you really mean it? Cause it's Antoine, I know I'm saying. Anyway, yeah. When you say askis, kemaswabi, kituletseleng, I'm nasty. To a person, you are saying to them that you hurt them and you get that you did that, and that person has a responsibility to forgive 70 times 7 times. If they don't want to forgive, then they gotta deal with God about that, because God then won't forgive them. But a lot of times people will not say that sorry until a person is completely set free. So the only way out of this, the only way that MTN would ever give me the apology I deserve, or my mother, or my sisters, or anybody, is if I were to get rescued by people who understand my comprehensive innocence and basically grant me, what do you call this, safe passage into a less persecuted life. Only then will I get outpourings of the askisi from everybody that hurt me, if at all they want to be restored to some kind of a semblance of a normal life without looking like creeps. But for now, because I am in a state of incarceration, they want to negotiate for half-hearted apologies that come with, like I said, conjunction words that I frankly don't appreciate neither respect. My mom said to me, you will go to a dermatologist, which by the grace, indeed I need that. But we need to sit down and talk about this thing that's going on between us. No, we don't. You owe me an apology. And frankly, this is salt in my open wounds. It's injurious in the worst way. I have no interest in being assaulted with your half-hearted, afflictions of my person, your vitriol, your half-hearted apology that will come with vitriol, where you're going to continue to massacre my character when I have done absolutely nothing wrong. I am entirely innocent. You were wrong, 100%. And for you to sit there and claim that I am afflicting of you in some way is to come at my character. It is to say of me that I am disobedient when I am a Christian to you who is my mother. It is to say of me that I am into random spite when I am not. It's reviling. The Bible said, "Blessed are you when men revile you and call you all different kinds of things on the account of the name of Jesus. On that day, the kingdom of heaven is yours when men persecute you. Great is your reward in heaven." I've been reviled. Men and women have borne false witness against me. And these false witnesses want me to rock up and basically claim, like a badge on my chest, the reputational damage that they've given me. My mother wants to call me unappreciative, disrespectful, unserving, ungrateful. I guess I mentioned unappreciative. And irresponsible. Oh my goodness, the worst one yet is irresponsible. That I put myself in a position to suffer like this and lose everything. But at least she has been so supportive and helpful of this like suffering thing that I made myself. That these like shenanigans of mine, these toys out the cot that I'm throwing, are frankly the work of an ingrate and a miscreant and a derelict, a bad child whose mother just is so long suffering over them. The reputational damage in that, just the disrepute, the reviling. I am the most responsible daughter out of all of my mom's kids. She's only had girls. I am not only that, but when I was employed, I was the most financially supportive of her. I was respectful, honoring, especially after coming to Jesus. I chose to live with her until I got married so that she would have support financially in her household from me. And then once I got married, I intended for my husband and I to live on such a massive estate that we would build my mother her own little mansion on it, that she would not be very far away from her grandchildren and us, and so she would not die in loneliness, since she is a divorced woman that never remarried. Good for her, because that is against the law in God's eyes. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do for my mom. And she took a daughter like that and just spat on her, literally dug a grave. She, however, survived being buried alive. And now, all these years later, that she might get away with that murder that she committed, she is expecting me, while I am still in duress, to essentially confess or admit or place upon myself the moral turpitude, the reviling, the character flaws that she has badged on me, when, if at all, I had indeed walked in those, I would cease to be a Christian on that day. For many of them are the fruit of the sinful nature, disobedient to parents, basically the moral turpitude you look at in 2 Timothy 3. Lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, ungiving, slanderous, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof, always learning, never coming to a knowledge of truth. Yeah, all such things. You're giving me a personality flaw that would disqualify me as a saint, period. So you are a liar. So essentially what I was told is that in order for me to get my dermatologist appointment and a half-hearted apology fulfilled, I gotta admit that I am a derelict or irresponsible or ungrateful, trying to make it look as if though I am one half of a couple that just keeps fighting and both people are wrong. And frankly, we need to reach a middle ground. This is not middle ground. This is unadulterated persecution that's very one-sided. Very one-sided. This is a person striving to live a life in godliness, who every so often gets very emotionally afflicted by being turned into a domestic worker. And so I throw my toys out the cot when I'm washing dishes, because I'm the only one washing them. Why am I even the only one washing dishes when I've got a sister who is an entire 17 years younger than me, living on the same property, and who was here today? Why is that even my life? Why have you allowed yourself to make one of your children a domestic servant? Yeah, okay, you're guilty. Well, a broken and a contrite spirit the Lord will not despise. But guess what he says? There are two types of guilt. One of them is godly, the other one is worldly. Godly guilt leads to repentance, which you are presently not walking in. However, worldly guilt leads to death. Why it leads to death is because it is unapologetic. It's half-hearted. It's a whistleblower for the kingdom of darkness. The whistleblower of which is saying to the kingdom of darkness, if this full apology happens, there will be vindication in God's kingdom. We can't have it. So we're going to mar and tar the saint of the living God with some moral virtue, with some moral turpitude, some character flaw that does not belong to them, that we might not look so bad in the end when we say sorry. The Lord will have nothing to do with it. My mother wants to sit me down and have a conversation with me that I'm going to find entirely patronizing, because I'm entirely innocent. If at all she is ashamed of herself and embarrassed. Frankly, love covers a multitude of sins. She doesn't have to say anything. She can just in silence basically act like nothing happened. However, being different. And that'll be enough for me. Indeed. in the parable of the two sons. The father says to the one son, go and do ABC, and the son is like, very well, I'll absolutely do it, but doesn't do it. The other son is told, go and do ABC, and says, no, I don't want to do it. However, goes on later after getting an attack of conscience and does it. And then the Lord asks the disciples, which of these has done what the father has asked them? And they rightly respond that the second son, who even though he started out all apprehensive and giving attitude, he finally did what the father would have him do. So he is the obedient son. Indeed, this son never came back and said, sorry, daddy, I'll do it. They just did it. So God is happy to embrace a person that just does right, even if they don't say sorry or do anything. So don't patronize me with words. Do not patronize me with a lengthy conversation, laborious, that's winding about an athletics track like an athlete that's running a long distance race cross country. Do not send me through that athletics patch when I should frankly sprint a 400 meter and just win already. Do not take me through that, because all it will do is burn my already open wounds. It'll just put greater scars. It'll afflict me with the understanding or the recognition that you will literally never admit that you decimated your own child's life. I would far better heal if you admitted what you did, even though it would hurt that you did what you did, than for me to ever accept that I did anything, that I participated in any way in the mutiny against my own life. I have always had a reputation, held a stellar one at that, for being hyper responsible. And basically, if at all my school had voted in this regard, my high school, I would have been voted the most likely to succeed in life, because I've always been so responsible, even as a teenager. And then you rock up and tell the world when I'm 29 years old with a whole thriving career, having succeeded and excelled above many of my colleagues and many of my peers, and then say all of a sudden I lost my mind and started being irresponsible like I'm a 12-year-old that's sleeping with all the boys in the community. I've never ever been irresponsible. I've got cousins that have got tall tails longer than my legs, but I don't have any such rap sheet. Literally, my slate is clean even from before I came to Christ. I've been that annoyingly good girl. Annoying, like, do you understand? I was an annoyingly good girl. Head above water from as early as I could remember, very mature child. And then you go and you grab that kid and you try to make her all of a sudden like she lost her mind. I'm sorry, I feel as if you need to admit that you had postpartum depression that lingered well into your old age, where you could not appreciate a precious gift from God. And now it's time for you to confess. But instead, you want to go and grab a responsible daughter that's completely innocent, that has managed to even keep herself in a bunch in a great deal of attrition, severity of persecution. You want to go and make her confess. Admit to something she never did, just because she's still in duress. What I need is to be set free by people who will admit, acknowledge, and embrace the fact that I'm completely innocent. And in their safe haven, only from there will I receive the much needed apology that I need from my mom, from everybody else. Like the conversation that she wants to have with me after coming at me like a beast, a bat out of hell. I won't do it. If I won't get to see a dermatologist because I refuse to basically make concessions to my character, and so allow a world full of randos to persecute me for being something I am not, then I guess I'll have to wait for some other aid to come my way. I am not doing it. This thing that my mom wants me to settle for is literally at the heart of this whole message. I am being pursued by dark men and women who follow the prince of the power of the air for settling for some kind of a semblance of a better life, insofar as I will admit that I threw myself into the abyss, and they were the ones that were kind enough to reach out a hand to help me not live such an abysmal existence. Far be it from a holy and precious God to allow his saint to look like she or he was entirely irresponsible until some devilish human beings rocked up and snatched her out of that. Rescue missions, orchestration much of a rescue of a person that you held hostage. No, we're not doing it. It is properly like a kidnapper that sets his own victim free, that he might look like a freaking hero. We're not doing it. Like, I was put in this position by the very people who are now so uncomfortable with how my life is turning out, and them looking as beastly as they obviously do right now, that they want to make themselves look as if though they fished me out from an ocean in which I was drowning because I dared go and swim in the middle of it in the middle of the night without any boat around, hoping to somehow one day become a triathlon athlete, training myself how to swim across waters, even though I've never even seen a swimming pool in my life. They're trying to make it look as if though I dove myself into sharky waters, shark infested waters, and they rocked up to rescue me. But once I'm on boat, How irresponsible, Karabo. How dare you do that? Girl, you nearly died, but look at how we rocked up and saved you. Men want to rescue me after putting me in a position to suffer want. Women want to rescue me after jealously they left me to suffer want. Because now they just look really terrible. Now they look bad. Especially considering I look so good. Considering I'm so innocent, obviously so. Time has made them all look menacing. And now they want to rock up and do a better thing because right now they just look kind of beastly. God knows how to revolve a matter around and work it out for the good of his disciples. Time reveals all things. That which has been hidden in the darkness will be shown by the marvelous light of the Lord. And when they get shown in the run-up to the expose, a whole bunch of filthy human beings that don't actually want Jesus, a whole bunch of filthy human beings that want nothing to do with Jesus, will try to make it look as if though they rescued you at the nick of time. The devil knows when breakthrough or deliverance is coming for a Christian, and sometimes he tries to send his servants to orchestrate the release of a believer, the very person that they put, like I said, in prison, and he will then try to orchestrate the thing that set them free, that those occult monsters will look innocent, and also for the tarnishing, reviling, and so minimizing of the actual testimony, the outcome, the final result of the believer. The only way that I will ever talk to anyone that is my enemy that has wreaked havoc in my life right now is if they're prepared to do a 180, that proper confess everything they've done to me. But that is not happening. So my mom, her fluffy, half-hearted apology that just came right now, where she was like, your skin is messed up, I'll take you to a dermatologist. Yeah, I'm grateful. But if the only way that I'm going to see the inside of a dermatologist's office is if I admit that I'm crude, disrespectful, disobedient, maligning of family, a miscarrying of honor in my ecosystem, if that's the only way that I get to see a dermatologist, then you know what, I'll keep my acne, because frankly it is my glory right now. My acne is my glory. If at all, it will be the tarnishing of my glory for me to have perfectly clear skin, but with a tarnished reputation. I will not put on myself a nasty badge. So I don't even know how I am going to go around this with my mom. I really don't know. I have no clue how I'm going to do this. I want to see a dermatologist. I will not dishonor her by not researching the dermatologist that she told me about, but the conversation that she wants to have with me, I don't even want to have it. I would much rather she said nothing at all. Like the second son who says no to the dad and then turns around and does what is right, even though they don't apologize, even though they don't admit they were disobedient, insofar as they have not done the better deed. I'll take that. So take me to a dermatologist, let me see one, but don't say a thing afterwards. I will take that as an apology, and everything is water under the bridge. Love will cover a multitude of sins. That I will wipe clean against you. Proper. I will not even look at it. Magnanimity. That's what under heaven I will walk in. But do not expect me to tarnish my own character, that you might be elevated. Do not try and make an excuse for why you did what you did to me today. You knew you were manifesting demons. You were just being mean, uptight, harassy, full of abuse. It's all you were, a malcontent. However, given that you felt uncomfortable, do better and just move on. Shut up and drive. Just do what you need to do and say nothing thereafter. If you are too proud to ever confess that you were wrong, you don't gotta. All you gotta do is do better. Just do better. And I won't even mention it. But instead you want me to accept a moral character flaws. It's not happening. If also, let me just put that out there. If also a Christian settles for a half-hearted apology, everybody else on the periphery that were fugitives for life, it's written in God's word that when a person is running away from crime, do not help them, for they will be a fugitive for life. So all these fugitives that have helped a criminal get away with murder, that have put themselves in a position to in and of themselves be fugitives, they cheer, they celebrate, do you understand? They throw confetti. Rice falls on them like they're brides, for crying out loud, because of the fact that they have finally gotten to silence without looking too bad someone that everybody was a fugitive from killing. So if at all I were to agree to this concession with my mom, if at all Christians were to agree to the concession that YouTube is trying to slap them with in order to restore their channels, in order to stop abusing all of them, everyone in the colorful agenda, the alphabet mafia, everyone on the left, everyone that proliferated this rubbish of censorship on social media will cheer, because they are going to look like they finally handled people. You've been such a bad person, but I feel bad for the fact that you now no longer have a salary when you used to earn all of your living on YouTube. Now that you have lost your house, at least you can buy a new one. Now that your child has been kicked out of university because you couldn't afford to pay for their college fees, now you can send him back. Now you can use the money that you're going to earn to pay his student loan. Now. But I only did that because I realized that we can't be so, harsh on the thing that you are. So do better next time from the thing that you are, but I will give you back your account because I realize that you need it and you're struggling. I'm sorry, you need me, not the other way around. YouTube is the one that needs content creators, not the other way around. So therefore, apologize and move on, and don't expect them to make any kind of concession or sign any kind of NDA, NDE, whatever. It could be a near-death experience, frankly, for YouTube. Instead of insisting that people accept moral flaws that don't belong to them, just shut up and drive. Restore accounts and say nothing. Move on. But don't expect people to sign strange stuff to say that they were wrong when they were not. They were not. And so, because what that's going to do is cause everybody that participated in the mutiny against innocent souls to cheer and breathe a sigh of relief because they never got dragged through the mud, finished and clar. Finished and clar. The ones in the wrong just need to look like they're in the wrong. That justice may be truly served. Instead, ay, suga.